welcome back to the Resupply with me, Guy Next Door.
And me, Fan.
Where we bring you your weekly double tap of all things Laserforce. Joining us this week, we have another special guest because, I mean, what's a Laserforce podcast without, you know, a special guest? Joining us this week is, I would put it out there and say, and I've said it before on other podcasts, the best player to have ever graced the scene. And like most Australians do, they try and claim him as his own, but he is very much New Zealand born and bred. Welcome to the mic this week, Rusty. How are you, man?
Hello, I'm good.
Thanks.
How are you travelling?
Super duper.
You're much too kind, honestly. But it's funny you mentioned that because I just had flashbacks to that New Zealand versus Australia game we played in Auckland after the 2006 match.
Fucking totem pole. God damn.
We won.
No, the after one. That you talking about the Australia versus New Zealand?
Australia versus New Zealand.
Yeah. I remember that.
Winning.
That's probably one of it's probably the second best thing that I've ever had happen in nationals.
Other than the totem pole, right?
Nah, fuck the totem pole. Which eventually we'll explain. But maybe we'll leave that till later. So, thanks for joining us, man. I know sometimes, you know, when people are like, hey, do you want to appear on this thing, and we're going to talk about how great you are, and yada, yada, yada. You're sometimes a little apprehensive to do it. I know when I stuck a camera in your face last year at Nationals, you were like, hey, man, how about I just turn it back on you and, you know, put you under a microscope. But yeah, so it'd be interesting to get some insights about, like, you know, you as a player and your history with the game. But the first thing I wanted to get out of the way, it's been requested. What is a bogan?
What is a bogan?
Yeah.
You know what? I really appreciate you asking that, Steve. Thank you very much. Shout out to my bogan mate, Tom, from the United States of America. I hope you're going well.
Beautiful
Look,
mustache.
it's just a really fancy term of someone being super cool in Australia, I guess. So you're a bogan, Tom.
Wow.
Live the dream. Live the dream.
Yeah, never change. It's interesting though, because as far as I'm aware, bogan in Australia is somewhat derogatory, whereas like people wear that as a badge of honor in New Zealand. Like being a bogan, like I'm considered a bogan here. Bogan's a good thing here, almost, sort of.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I don't know, for whatever reason people get a lot of crap about it, but some of the funnest people just are the ones that just don't care about what's going on and just get stuck into it and share their thoughts and just don't give a fuck in general. I think
skinny black jeans with jandals or thongs. Sorry.
Oh, I don't know if that's the right direction for bogan, but they definitely drink 4X or VB and probably have a mullet of some description. But
yeah. So basically, young tragedy.
Pretty much tragedy now as well. Yeah, spot on. Yeah. Sorry, Peter.
One thing actually, disclaimer, I've actually been quite sick recently, so if my voice sounds a little shit, more shit than usual, that's why. I blame the cold.
It's a good qualifier, Steve-O, because your voice is pretty damn good.
I mean, it's normally
beautiful.
It's normally nasally, and I sound more Australian this week than I think I've ever had.
Keep it up.
So let's cast back to young Rusty, and let's go back to your Wellington days. What sort of what brought you in? What got you hooked?
So, my mum threw me in like one of those holiday camps or holiday day things, and one of the days was a laser tag thing. So we got to go to the city. It was obviously awesome when you're like 12.
Traveling from little old Porirua.
How old I was, I think. So I got taken along, and I think I even used a suit called Sub-Zero. I think I've got the printout somewhere. Anyway, after that day, I pretty much begged my dad to take me back in, and we finally did. So thank you, iPlayLaserforce.com. It's got the first registered game on my membership, which would have been, I think it was the 6th or the 4th or the 6th of August 1996.
Damn.
So just after we finish this year, it'll be 22 years since my first actual membership game. And it's funny, right? Because there's literally people coming and playing that weren't even born then. And I used to give Peter shit about this all the time. But now we're all in similar boats. So I think it just sort of started
Welcome
from
to
that.
the club.
Yeah, no, you know, it's as sad as it is, it's actually quite good at the same time. I've obviously seen lots of stuff happen over the years, but I think it was because I was so young, I couldn't go in by myself to play unless like my dad drove me in or something. So I remember when I finally got old enough to go in and play by myself, we started. I think I went in to start playing the members' nights, and that's where I met. For those that may remember, Stallion. So he was the catalyst for me getting into anything that sort of involved traveling to play laser tag. So I remember he went to Newcastle in 1999, and he came back and he's like, holy shit, we've got to go next year. We've got to blah, blah, blah. Taught us how to double resupply, because at that point, I don't think we even knew what fucking Space Marines 5 was properly. And I don't think we knew we could even double.
Funny thing about 99, but funny thing about 99, the only reason he ended up in Newcastle in 99 was because of me, was because I had decided that I was going to go for reasons, and I had met, like, doing, searches, on the interwebs to find out other people playing, and he had, at the time he had a website set up that actually had like his scorecards scanned and stuff, and
Really?
it was some like
Holy
yes.
shit, I never knew that. He was
kidding.
a bigger nerd than me, holy moly.
And at the time in Sacramento, we were playing a lot of SM4, and he had scorecards scanned, and they were pretty good. And I just sent off an email being like, hey, it's a good score, good job. And we started talking, and we found out about the Newcastle tournament, and we both it's like, well, fuck, we should go try this. And I got my ass handed to me, him less so. But yeah, so that was the reason why he ended up in Newcastle, to be able to come back to Wellington to basically be like, oh my God, we have to become a part of this. So
as everyone knows, like in those days of the internet, you used to have to send smoke signals to each other to get anywhere.
ICQ, MSN. You know what? When I started searching on the internet for Laserforce, it would take me to a printing company in Wellington. Like there was literally nothing in New Zealand that you could actually find.
It's like, did you mean laser printing?
Oh yeah, luckily I didn't walk in there and go, "When's your next game?" That would have been pretty retarded. But
how do I join up? Where's the
literally
membership?
couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
So that's why I play Laserforce. Is quite refreshing that you can actually get that sort of stuff these days.
It's so good.
So there you go. I didn't know that, fan. I didn't know he had scorecards on the internet, and that's ultimately, this is probably your fault then, to be honest.
Yeah, it looks like in an indirect way, yes, it is my fault that you ended up playing. So I guess to the rest of the community, I'm sorry?
I'm sure the apologies will be gleefully accepted.
I mean, that's why your unofficial title is the granddaddy of Laserforce, because A, you're that old, and B, it's all your fault.
Oh, well, ground zero for someone coming from America, and obviously that involved Alex being the first person from New Zealand traveling, so that's absolutely a fair assessment in that respect. Yeah, so far out. I didn't know all that stuff, but ultimately that's what led me to going to Melbourne in 2000, and oh my God, that entire interaction and journey and event and the stuff leading up to that was pretty crazy, because Alex had talked us up, right? He was like, you're going to do so well. We're going to do really well. I don't know if it got to the point where it was like, oh, maybe we can fucking finish in the top 4 or something. But obviously walking off the plane, and our team at the time I'm just trying to remember. There's a guy called Truth. There's a guy called Connor. There was me. There was Alex, and a couple of other people. I can't even remember. Probably a couple of New Zealand bogans. Tom. Yeah. So I remember just playing the first game, and we got fucking annihilated. And when I mean annihilated, like just dumpstered on. It just was not anything I'd ever experienced or could have experienced. And we're talking about meeting for the first time ever all the Brisbane guys. So there was Fu, I think Mortis Wardog, there was Prophet, Trage, and then obviously all the Oakley guys. So at the time there was Vader, I think Kid Thunder was playing, if that was his name, obviously Owl, Mental. It was just, Duckman would have been playing. Yeah, so all these people were fucking just amazing players. And I'm 16, and there's been this guy telling me we're going to do really well. And after our first, just practice game, I was like, well, we're going to go so fucked up. So, and that sort of has a special bearing. That particular tournament was within an hour of meeting. I know it was Fu. Fu came over because at the time, and I don't know how many people know this, my code name used to be Nightmare. I got it off a Magic the Gathering card because it was like a cool picture of a horse. So I don't know, you can Google it if you want to see what it was at the time. That was cool to me, and I was like, shit. Little did I know, fucking every second person in that plays Laserforce is called Nightmare, or we've had a few.
I think we had two in Auckland.
Yeah, you had two in Auckland. So Fu comes up to me, and obviously being a redhead means different things to different people. I came to terms with it when I was 7 years old, for anyone that was wondering. So he comes over to me and he goes, right, you got two options, blue or rusty. And at the time I'm like, what the fuck does blue have to do with anything? Or rusty? Like this is all new to me. I hadn't really hung out with anyone from Australia. And I was like, oh, rusty. Honestly, within an hour or two, no one was calling me Brent. No one was calling me Nightmare. It was Rusty. And literally that is where I got my code name from. That stuck since 2000. So if it had actually, if Fu wasn't there, that hadn't happened, I'd probably still be called Nightmare to this day, which just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I've gone through my life where people actually don't know my real name before Facebook. They're like, fuck, your name's Brent?
Yeah, I don't think I knew your name for like a good 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, so
I assumed that it was like Russell.
Exactly right. So that sort of just headed me in this direction where everyone, my mates, people outside of work, even people at work started calling me Rusty. So back to the tournament, I remember we played 30 games, we won 1. We lost 29 games. We got fucked. And we won 1 game, and Connor had actually injured himself. I think he hurt his ankle or something, and he wasn't able to play. So we were so bad they were letting fucking Prophet and Nite Owl merc for us. And Nite Owl in 2000, and I remember he's just fucking an amazing heavy, and he got to play heavy for us in one of the games. Only game we won. Nite Owl playing heavy. I don't remember who it was against, but it was like, fuck. Wow. Okay, I'm glad we won one. So I don't think I've ever gone through a tournament where we hadn't at least won a game, but obviously first one game. But hand on heart, if Connor hadn't injured himself and we didn't get Nite Owl to play, we would have not won a game.
0 for 30.
We would not have won a game. It would have been, it was just, I think it was 30. Anyway, we won 1 game. We got fucked.
Look, that's pretty interesting.
I've done that. It sucks.
That's interesting because our first national tournament for Auckland was Melbourne in 2003. And we were in the same boat. I don't think we won a game that entire tournament. We got just messed up by everyone. And
so round 2 for the Kiwi invasion. Fucking stomped on.
Yeah, never go to Oakley, kids. It's just a world of pain and misery.
Yeah, look, I've definitely had my moments in Oakley, that's for sure. And that was when, back then, when Masters was still being run and run properly. And this was sort of like, how you have like an epiphany when when you're doing something and things just seem to make a little bit more sense. So after we're coming up to the end of the first half of the games, and there's a guy called Truth, and at the time, if we played in Wellington, I mean, most people would have said, yeah, you're better than him. And he comes up to me, and I think there was 24 people. I'm in 21st place, right? I'm like almost coming in last. He goes, what is going on with you? Like, you're just getting fucking hammered. But just before he said that to me, after we had the break, I was playing. I think I was in the red, in the green base area, and I remember this because it stuck with me forever. And Peter, I'll buy you a beer at some point. I'll probably owe you one. But I remember either getting shot or shooting someone or getting a reset, and Peter ran past me, and it all was like, okay, that's fine. But what he did as he ran past was he bent over, and I couldn't shoot him. I was like, wow, that's like mind-blowingly smart. But what I hadn't picked up was I wasn't doing that, but pretty much every single other person was.
Yeah, it's become like less of a thing now, I guess, with like the way that the systems have changed.
But that sort of just, at that particular moment, that gave me a bit of an insight as to how to play. Like, if you get shot, don't run away standing up, run away bent over.
And Traj could basically bend in half as well and like run full pace as a staple.
18 years ago, he would have been in his 20s. Think about that. Think about that.
Limber as.
So, personally, I can thank Peter for the next half of my games. I think I ended up finishing in the top 3 a couple of times. And I finished 11th, I think. So literally that one thing I started doing differently had a positive impact. And, I tell anyone that's new or playing or been playing over time and they want to get better, it's just a couple of little things that you end up picking up and doing differently that can actually just exponentially increase how well you do in certain games.
Actually, that's an interesting point. Just on that, what would you say are, for anyone that's still new to the game or still learning, what would you say are a couple of like really key things, like basic things that players don't do which they should be doing?
Okay, so if we were in a room of people right now, I'd just be and wait for someone to say what I would say, but it's hold your fucking gun up. Hold your gun up.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Oh my fucking god. Yes.
What do you think you can do if your gun is pointed at the ground and someone walks around the corner with their gun up and you have to pull your gun up to shoot?
Yeah.
Are you going to get the shot off? Are you going to be in a position where you're actually going to give yourself an opportunity to shoot someone?
Plus, I'm
probably going to go with no. And if they're really good, you won't even be able to get your gun up halfway towards the chest to be able to shoot them.
Yeah.
So I tell anyone that's new, anyone on my team, anyone in resupply, anytime they're back, hold your gun up, hold your gun up, hold your gun up. Honestly, I've probably said it 1,000,000 times.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just such a natural thing for me. I suppose because I will have a fair idea of when I'm about to come up.
Yeah.
So I won't necessarily be holding my gun up if I'm down for no particular reason.
Yeah.
But I'll generally be having it ready to shoot someone. But the amount of times where I've walked around the corner and someone's just got their gun down, like,
it's actually infuriating. Even if they're not on
my team, I'm like, gun up, because you might be on my team one day. So fucking hold your gun up.
There you go.
That's half the battle.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's just be open to feedback. Like there's just been too many people, and this is becoming more and more prevalent at the moment with certain players or certain sites that might do well in one instance and then think it's the greatest thing ever since sliced bread. But you can always learn from people, and you don't have to, like, you have to want to get better.
Yeah.
But you also have to be open to taking feedback on board.
I love the but that comes with it. People are you're like, hey, you maybe think about this thing, and they're like, yeah, but, and as soon as you say yeah, but, you're just like, okay.
Yeah, look, over the years, I would pull people aside and be like, look, I think maybe you could have done this differently, or this differently, or this differently. But I've stopped doing that. I'm not going to waste my time talking to someone or trying to help someone if they don't want to get better.
Yeah.
So if they show interest at the start and they're open-minded about stuff, and I can provide feedback, and they're not going to go, well, yeah, but you're right, but hey, look, I'm not perfect. I still make mistakes. I'm sure I can still do certain things better.
Yeah.
And if I see someone do something better than me, I'm going to go back into the field and see what they did and try and reenact it or do something and just reflect on what I could have potentially done differently in a certain situation. And if someone says to me, that was retarded, I'll be like, yeah, I fucked up. But generally these days I'll walk out of a game and go, I fucked up.
Yeah.
Like I know, like that was not a good idea. We shouldn't have done that.
Well, that's...
And that's half the battle is you can make mistakes. And here we are talking like we're professional sports people, but it is something that we definitely do take seriously. And obviously the difference between an okay player, a good player, and a great player is just little things. And it really is about being open and being humble about certain parts of your game that you can possibly do better. And it's okay to learn from other people. It's not like an offensive thing. If they show you something that you can do better, it's going to improve you as a player. So
I would go so far as to say that the being open to feedback and being able to admit when you did something wrong in a game is probably closer to 75 to 80% of the equation as far as the getting better portion.
Well, that's part of the beauty about nationals as well. I mean, you're surrounded by your peers in the game, guys who have been playing for so long, and especially when you travel to the States and see how, I mean, picking stuff up from guys like Scythe in a tournament, or it becomes such an important part of the nationals experience. Yeah, it's a bunch of fun, and you get to test yourself against the best in the world. But if you're not learning at nationals as well, I think you're missing out on a big portion of why the tournament is what it is.
100%. And this just goes back to what I mentioned in 2000. Like, we went over there being talking out. No, I didn't talk. I didn't know what to expect, but went over there thinking, oh shit, we might do okay, and getting absolutely shat on, but then still going, all right, this has been a bunch of fun. I've met all these awesome people, and hey, that person's doing something way better than me. I'm going to try and apply that. So yeah, look, you've nailed it. There's still lots of people floating around that are really, really good, that can add a lot of value. And the second you start thinking that you're better than someone, or if you start talking yourself up to other people,
it just comes off so poor.
It's not even that. It's like if and when things don't go to plan,
you look like a dick.
That's one way to put it. But if you're good at something, you don't need to tell people you're good at something. Other people are going to do it for you. Yeah. Ultimately, and I think that's something else that people need to be mindful of, because if you talk yourself up and you tell your teammates how awesome you are, and then if you go into a game and get shat on, you'll get frustrated at yourself because you've set your bar too high and your expectations are unrealistic, and then you're going to get shitty at your team because you're probably going to start blaming them for stuff when it's probably something that you could have been doing differently.
Oh, I'm so good at blaming my team. Oh,
they're going to get shitty at you because you've told them how awesome you are. Why aren't you doing what you said you were going to do? And it just creates a really toxic environment.
Yeah. But
if everyone's on the same page, you're like, yeah, let's try and do this together. Maybe we could do this and this and this, and this might work better. Just do your best. And if you end up being really, really good, it'll look after itself. Yeah. You don't have to go around telling people you're awesome. And that's part of I've tried to apply. Yeah. I think for me personally, because you're right. I think it does come off the wrong way when things don't go to plan.
Yeah, so I guess where to from here?
So obviously the following year was Brisbane, 2001. So obviously you missed out on that. Were you at that one, Stan?
Yeah, I was there. That was actually the year that
we played on the same team.
Yeah, that's the one time that you and I have played on a nationals team together. There was 4 Wellington people. I think it was you, Stallion, Sacred, and Truth, and then it was me and Goofball from Sugarland.
Was it Goofball? I'm sure there was another guy. He had long hair. And he was our ammo, and went to push him to go faster somewhere, and he got mad at me. What was his name? I can't. And then he just pretty much got mad and didn't want to play anymore.
That sounds very uncharacteristic for a Laserforce player to get mad and like not want to play anymore.
Oh yeah, no, I don't know. But talk about another eye-opening experience. Like, historically, Brisbane started it all. Again, arguably, some of the greatest players, not arguably, some of the greatest players
a fact.
have played in Brisbane and still playing in Brisbane.
Yeah.
So being able to play against, I can't even remember how many people back then were playing. There was Ren, there was Chicken, there was Beast, there was Prophet, there was Fu, there was Trage, there was Scraps. Like Mortis, Wardog, Pigstar was still playing then.
Yeah.
I think Unabomber was playing. Like,
those are legends.
So many awesome people.
You talk about old gods.
Oh fucking hell, yeah! It's just, and again, it was just like I walked in there like a kid in a candy store, just eyes wide open and just wanted to learn as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I learned another pretty crucial thing Juicy. There's a guy called Mr. Juicy, and I don't think he played much longer after that, but people would just tell stories about, certain players that did stuff, and apparently he was just an absolute legend at getting resets, which is obviously one of the funnest things about playing Laserforce, is being able to reset people and actually have to move and shoot and not stand in the corner and dodge and do shit. Not that I've ever played anything else.
The 5 Ds of Laserforce.
Yeah, and I just watching certain people play and how they had to anticipate the shot, and if someone was looking at them, you wouldn't stand up until they got distracted and stuff like that. That all just sank in. And for some reason, Fu didn't play the Masters that year, but he thought, for some reason, based on the previous year, he thought I was going to win. And I was like, mate, no chance. I didn't. I finished fifth. So, year-on-year improvement for me personally was I guess pretty good. And someone in my team this year actually won that. Beast, who would have been 15 at the time when he won that, and we still joke about it now. He fucking set up a tent on the green ramp, and that was where he fucking camped out. But it worked, and at that point, before all the field changes, like, you just had a great vision for pretty much the whole field, where you could just get shots off all over the place. And I'm pretty sure Peter finished second, and then it might have been Uni or Scraps finished third and fourth, and then I think I was fifth. But just thinking about stuff like that.
I was somewhere in 20s, I think, in that tournament, because I'm terrible at, Laserforce. But yeah, it was kind of embarrassing.
That was that actually started, and again, you can blame Peter for this. I remember a game.
I blame Peter for everything. Just FYI, I kicked my toe this morning on the way to the microphone.
You, Peter.
Yeah. Oh, fucking Trage, piece of shit.
We played against the Brisbane team. Obviously, we would have done that a few times, but it was a lot of banter and a lot of fun. And this, for whatever reason, in this particular game, they didn't shit all over us. They stacked their nukes. And I remember I did as well, because I don't know, it was just, they weren't nuking. I'll save my nukes. It's my second nationals. Ooh, let's have some fun. And I remember getting to, I think, 60 seconds, and I pulled 4 nukes. It was like, fuck, I don't know if I've actually ever done that, like in a nationals game, let alone play commander. And I was like, oh my god. Anyway, Peter the fucking asshole pulled 5, of course. So, and it was literally at that point I was like, wow, because everyone was like, wow, that's awesome, and clapping and cheering and stuff, and it's like, fuck, 5 nukes, that's a big deal. Yeah.
Well, actually, that's a really interesting segue, I guess. I know this has been a topic of discussion recently on Facebook.
Oh god.
And
my mind.
We spoke about it during the week, and after some of the rage had died down,
Subsided.
Yeah, but I mean, you had some interesting points, and I know you wanted to clarify some stuff on the nuke stacking side of things.
Look, there's absolutely a time and a place for it. And anyone who sort of sees someone do chain 5 nukes and it's like, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
If you've never done it before, you need to it'll take time. It's going to take time to get to a point where you actually establish whether or not you're scoring points fast enough to actually get nukes quick enough to be able to pull 4 or 5 in a 15-minute game. If you haven't pulled 2 or 3 in a row before, or even pulled 2 or 3 in a game before, don't fucking stack your nukes. Like it's not going to work out well because you're probably going to walk out with 7 or 8 grand, and your team's going to be dumpstered on.
Yeah. So with the suits that are in use now, so with Gen 7, it tells you how many nukes you have, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It tells you how many nukes you've got, how many boosts you've got.
Okay. So it
regularly tells you how many lies and shots you've got.
I hate it so much.
If you're getting chased around and it says you got 9 lies, fucking 9 lies, I'm over here.
But with that, do you think that it's become easier to do it? Because I know everything, like in the past with Gen 6, you have to really count your special points, right? That's kind of how you're able to drop 5. Like, I've never dropped 5 before. I don't think I've ever chained 4 before. I don't play Commander, so.
You know what? Little secret. I never once in my life counted.
Really?
Ever.
You just got that feel for kind of how you've been doing in the game, or?
Exactly. And obviously, if you hit 60 seconds and you're worried about not being able to pull 5, well, you just try and pull 5 and get your target.
Right.
And if you're at 99 or 95, you're going to go to 100 and you'll be able to pull 5.
Yeah.
But if you end up being on 89 and you pull 4 and get your target, well, you finish with a few special points.
Yeah.
But I think it's if you're going to try and chain, and it's about awareness.
Yeah.
Like if you've got 2 nukes and someone pulls and you're having a great game, but the other team pulls a great nuke and manages to kick your resupply.
Yeah.
Now it's probably a fucking good time to pull a nuke and do it.
Yeah.
Because it's probably gonna mean that your team's gonna live back into your resupply. You'll be able to fill back up and actually, you might be able to recover and pull 4 in a row.
Yeah. And
then you've still pulled your 5 in a game, which is obviously what people sort of aim for the first time.
So was the issue with it? Is it now viewed as like a showboating thing to try and get to try and drop 5 chain? Is that kind of the general consensus? Is that where the contention has come from?
You know what? I just don't know. Because everyone seems to try and do it for different reasons.
Yeah.
Right. There's absolutely a strategy to having 3 nukes in your pocket, because as soon as you hear someone go low, they're on 9 lines.
Yeah.
You're going to kill them.
Yeah.
Inadvertently, that's what happened in last year's Nats against Sacramento.
Yeah.
But like, this might sound bad, but in a selfish way, when we play in certain competitions and we're trying to learn the field, well, I'm gonna hold my nukes because we want to learn the field.
Yeah.
If at any one moment that game turns on its head and I think we're gonna get shat on, I'm gonna start nuking. There's just but that's where people, I think, lose sight of it. Like, if you get such tunnel vision on trying to get to 5 at the expense of your team being alive, well, you can't really fucking score any points if you don't have an ammo to give you shots, right? And you can't really score any points if you're dead. So, common sense should prevail.
Yeah.
But it's such a, because people keep posting about it, there's memes flying everywhere, and like this happened a couple of weeks ago.
Bloody youths with their memes.
Like, I'm going to throw him under the bus. I don't know if he listens to this, but there's a guy called Screever, newer player, getting quite good. And I'm watching the scoreboard, and he has 58 special points and 3 of his team's dead. I'm like, man, like, even 1 nuke or 2 nukes earlier would have been good. But he actually finished with another one. He didn't even get to pull it after that. But because he got another one later in the game. And I was like, what are you doing? He simply said, no one told me to pull my nuke.
Huh.
You know what? So that's a communication thing.
Right. That becomes on him, though, almost.
Well, he's a newer guy. There's more.
Right.
There's people on his team that have definitely been playing longer that could have said, "Hey, Scrivy, you got a nuke. Let's pull one." Right. So people do it for different reasons. If people are doing it to showboating at the expense of their team dying, well, suck shit.
Yeah.
You're probably never going to get it done if you've never been able to do three or four.
Yeah.
But then there's people that are genuinely just playing and need a little bit of guidance, saying, "Have you got a nuke?"
Yeah.
And I can tell you right now, that's probably my second fucking favorite thing to say if I'm not playing Commander is hold your gun up and have you got a nuke, because like it's just such a powerful thing during a game.
I think the third thing is probably yelling, Peter!
Stop. Come back so I can fucking go and shoot some people, Peter. But look, it needs to be. Look, I don't walk into a game personally and go, I'm pulling 5 nukes.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how the game's going to go.
Right.
I literally have no idea. I might get off to a great start and have 2 nukes, and then they do a really good nuke and kick our resupply. I'm going to pull one.
Yeah.
But then there's also the games where they don't even make it past and get anywhere near my medic. So I know my resupply is not going to die. I'm scoring plenty of points. My team's probably scoring plenty of points because we've got pressure on them.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to pull some nukes and probably potentially eliminate them and get a really nice lead if we get an elim bonus. So, look, at the end of the day, over the years, my idea of a successful game, if you've chained 5 nukes, is the other team is dead and your medic and ammo are still alive.
Right.
The next layer into that is your medic might be dead, but you've eliminated the other team.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario is most of your team's dead, you've pulled 5 and you didn't eliminate them. And that, I mean...
If that's gonna be ultra rare though.
I've absolutely had games where I've just gone, you know what, I'm having a good game. I don't know what the fuck the rest of my team's doing, but good luck, guys. Like, but you have to learn from that.
Yeah.
But that comes back to what I said at the start: be open to feedback.
Yeah.
Like if your resupply comes over and says, "Fuck, we could have used a nuke then," and then we all died, and that person walks out with 2 nukes left. Well, probably good feedback. Probably something to reflect on and go, you know what? Probably shouldn't have done that.
Well, tying that back to...
if you keep trying to chain nukes and you can't get past 3... I must emphasize this. You need to have 99 special points or 95 and a base available to be able to do it, or you need to find someone to shoot.
Yeah.
So if you get a printout and you've played Commander and you've lasted 15 minutes a game and you have a look at how many people you've shot, and you've shot like 60 people, that's 60 special points. Plus 2 bases, that's 70. If you got all your missiles off, that's 80. You pulled 4. You still haven't even got the extra 20 to do 5.
Yeah.
Probably going to take a little bit more development, a little bit more time to get to a point where you'll be able to get 5 specials. And look, there's so many different factors. Like in a Nats game against a really competitive team, I would be absolutely surprised if anyone would be crazy enough to try and stack 5.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're playing against one of the newer teams or weaker teams and you're learning the field and you want to just make the most of it, well, it's probably going to see some stacking happening because no one wants to have a 7-minute game. Like
yeah, exactly. Well, unless you're playing against Auckland and Oakley in 2003, and then it becomes a competition at who can kill Auckland out the quickest.
Yep.
Also, to be fair, your organizers have minute games because anything that gets that gains time to put us ahead of schedule. But I'm just gonna come out and
your
say
feedback is being duly noted here, fan, and I appreciate attention,
from a scheduler's point of view.
I'd probably appreciate the extra 8 minutes knowing where I'm getting shot from in the field, and maybe the rest of my team would too. So, and look, of all people spending thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to travel overseas to play, you definitely want to try and make the most of it. So,
Sure, I know.
Well, the sooner the game ends, the quicker you can start drinking again. Nationals is all about drinking with a little bit of Space Marine sprinkled in.
Yes, I'm told. I might have missed that boat.
One last thing on this topic is, do you think that the introduction of like the MVP awards has anything to do with how people kind of approach the game? Because I know that it's only within the last 4 or 5 years.
100%. 100%. And oh, look, it's just funny because I remember in Loveland, I think I ended up beating Scythe by like 0.02 or something.
Wow.
And something happened in one of his games, but like I basically established that if I hadn't won that, it was just going to be like this giant like boil over, and it was going to be a massive deal. It was basically what a few people told me, and I was just like, there's so many different factors that come into the MVP equation, and one of them I've already touched on is I don't know how many games I've played where the team has died in 7 minutes, and I've pulled 2 nukes and it's over.
Yeah.
You can't really score a lot of MVP if the team's fucking dead, and you can't actually score any points.
Yeah.
So I think overall the MVP side of it, it absolutely has an influence, but it's probably not as big as you'd think. I mean, not every team is probably in a position where they can go, oh shit, we kind of just need to take it easy in some cases because the other team's going to die really fast.
Well, it seemed to be because like that seemed to be the focus pre-MVP was let's try and kill them out as quick as possible. Everything else didn't really matter. It was eliminate every game if possible and as quick as possible. Whereas now it seems, well, if we kill them out too quick, then we can't farm for MVP points.
I'm hoping that there might be a solution to this, but it was always going to be there needs to be a better scale as a reward for MVP points the quicker you eliminate the team. And I think there was an issue around not having the exact start and end data on the scorecard to be able to apply sort of a standard set.
That is exactly the reason why there's not that additional bonus on it.
This has come up tons of time, mate, and I'm pretty sure I could say with confidence that if there was going to be a fair scaling to a quicker elimination, you'd probably find teams would play differently against other teams.
Yeah.
If it was going to make up the difference. But like, selfishly, I'll talk about the commander role. If I pull 2 nukes and get 5 missiles off, I've got 7 MVP points.
Yeah.
If my heavy gets 5 missiles off, he gets 10. And that's not due. That's got no timing tied to it at all. So if you're playing against newer players and you can get your 5 missiles off, well, doesn't matter what happens. The way that's sort of scaled is that it's expecting you're going to pull 4 or 5 nukes, and you're going to get your points bonus, and that's all going to roll up to sort of balance it out. But if the game's over in 7 minutes, you don't get any points bonus. You don't get your standard stuff for your nukes. And you might have a shitty game and get 1 or 2 missiles off. Well, that's 4 MVP. But in saying that, if then it was like, well, okay, there was 7 minutes left, everyone gets an extra X amount of points based on the time left. Well, yeah, I think it would change the whole thing.
Yeah.
The only thing I think it wouldn't change is if someone was traveling and they wanted to learn the field.
Right.
And if it was going to be much of a muchness and they were still learning and it was the early rounds, well, it's probably better to stay a little bit longer in that. And I honestly think that's an absolutely genuine reason to not want to finish a game in 7 minutes.
I'd never really considered that before.
Learning the field.
Yeah,
pretty important, mate. FYI, anyone else listening, you really want to pay attention to.
I got this.
You end up at Laserforce and not the pub. Anyway.
No. I mean, it never really considered that as a thing people sort of take into consideration when dropping the nukes. Like, the faster you kill them out, the less time you have to learn the maze. So. That's interesting.
People didn't believe me when it last fucking ended. I'm like, I don't know where I'm getting shot from sometimes. So I actually want to play, and if I get shot through the fucking the castle or some sneaky little fucker downstairs shoots me, I want to be able to go, oh, that happened.
Yeah.
And if I'm missing 5 minutes of game time, that shot might not have happened, and I might not have been aware of where it could have got shot from. So
that's pretty interesting.
There's lots of different things to take into account. And like I said, not all teams would necessarily have to think about it in that context.
Yeah.
But like if and I suppose that's where it comes down to trying to draw the game out, because if you've got a really good player playing on another team that's not as strong, their games are probably going to last 14 or 15 minutes, and they might be one of the last people left on their team, and they're probably going to walk out with 12, 13, 14, 15 grand. And then, the game before we won and walked out with 7,000 points.
Yeah.
Like, so if we could get the scaling right, and I, shout out to my other bogan mate, Russell in Sacramento, bloody fantastic job with the stat site, and it's just been a giant help, all things considered, for everyone involved, from the people entering the stats to the people viewing them, being able to have assist the competitive scene. I think, obviously, if that data ends up coming to hand, he'll probably be able to do some pretty funky stuff with that, and it'll be open for discussion as to what that would look like. But I think if it's fair and balanced, you'll see, absolutely, in Brisbane, you'll see some things played very differently compared to previous nationals. That's awesome.
One thing I can definitely say is that when we were initially developing all the MVP stuff and all that, I mean, that the elimination bonus side of thing was something that was discussed a lot and refined more than a few times. In fact, the original, I still have the original Excel spreadsheet that I used to do this on and have all the calculations from there. It went through, I want to say, 10 revisions of like tweaking point values and trying to balance out the elimination stuff with everything else. So I mean that has been something that has been discussed since day one with the stat stuff. I know that that Bogan Russ is talking to at the moment, trying to get some more data points available to him, so that he can improve the stat site. But that's one of those things that once we actually have the exact start and exact end for a game, that starts opening up a whole other realm of scaling to smooth out those games that, oh yeah, we killed that team in 5 minutes, and so because of that, the most amount of MVP anybody got on the team was 12 because everybody just died too quickly. But if we're able to scale out that, oh hey, there was 10 minutes left, so therefore that that multiplier should be insert XYZ for number of minutes per. Short form, we do actually already have some ideas on how we want to deal with that, but until we've got the data point to actually deal with it, there's not really a ton of sense in like wasting time, going, oh, what could be, because we don't have a data point to generate the stuff that we want to generate.
Yeah, I mean, one of the perks of being in Brisbane is, stuff like that might actually be able to be implemented. And if it is, it will make a big difference for this competition, which I will share with the appropriate person. Because I would, in this instance, the only person on the team that probably isn't going to get any game time before play, and there's been plenty of changes since he's played properly, is Mark. But he's Mark's Mark. He'll be okay. So yeah, you won't hear the words "we're learning the field" come out of my mouth in Brisbane, unless I do something else before it starts, and then we might have to just drag him out. But probably not. But yeah, look, it's something that's been around for ages. I was like, come on, man, let's go and make it. If a quick game can be a quick game, and it's going to keep things balanced, because at the end of the day, people love stats. People like to see how well they're doing, and if there's a tangible outcome to actually playing properly and making games as quickly as they possibly can be, which is obviously the aim of the game, then let's do it.
Cool. So that's probably a good place to cut this episode. We've been talking now for a little while. But what we might do is have our man Rusty back next week, where we can continue to talk rubbish about Laserforce on the internet. But and make sure that these two bogans come back and we can we can continue one. That one's for you, Bogan Tom. All right. Well, for this week, I've been Guy Next Door. And always remember to backtrack, bogans. See you next week.
Hold your gun up.
Hold your gun up.